Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Radio Works World. My name is Marybeth Haines, and I am your host today, wherever we are connecting from all over the world. I just want to, first of all, wish you an empowering day ahead. Some of you might be at the beginning of your day. Some of you might be at the end of your day. No matter where you're at, just reminding you that there is 24 hours in a day, and there's always time to make it your best day yet. I'm really excited today to be able to connect with you here, right now, and share a little bit about me and my story and what it is that I do. So I'd love to ask you if you are a pet lover, if you have pets or animals in your life, perhaps you work with animals, perhaps they are your furry family or companion, or perhaps you know somebody who has animals in their life. Well, today, what we're going to be talking about is the bond and the connection that we share with animals, but specific to when they pass away. What I do is I work with people as an author and as a grief specialist in helping them heal when their pet dies. And what we're going to talk about today is a little bit about how I got to this point in my life, what happened to get me going to this point in my life, and how animals are the reason why I do what I do today. And I'm really excited because I'm here with Marina Nanny, and I'd love to bring her on now. Marina, come on in, because I'd love to just chat with you more about this so that everybody that's listening can really engage and perhaps relate to some of the things that we're going to be talking about with respect to healing from the loss of our pets.
Wow, it's such an honor to be here and share this space with our listeners, because I feel your passion for not only for the pets and the experiences you had in your life and how much they how much joy they brought into your life, but you also have a passion for the humans who are suffering when they lose their pet, somebody they love so dearly, somebody who was more than a family member, somebody who needed them, somebody who loved them unconditionally. And this is a topic that goes far back into my own childhood. And I could say that my own childhood was absolutely amazing, was a period of life where I always wish everybody could have that, simply because I had an amazing pet. And it was a dog, and he was going with me everywhere. And later on, my children decided to have pets, have dogs, and I'm a dog lover. And of course, there are so many different type of pets, but I could say I am a dog lover, and I'm fascinated by your book. I'm fascinated by your passion. And I know from one hand you have the ones they can't voice their love for their owners. And from the other hand, you are dealing with the owners of these amazing creatures. I wanted to ask, what is the name of your first pet? Do you remember?
Wow. Well, we're going back quite a few years. Let me think, because when we go back to my very first pet, I was introduced to pets at the age of 2. And so at that point in time, I would have to say that it was Luke, and his name was Luke, and he was a beautiful black lab. And he came into my life when my parents decided to purchase a hobby farm. And they moved my sister, my brother, and I to this hobby farm. And Luke came there with us to live on the farm. And he was with us for many years. I can remember all of the times. Of course, I'm 2 and 3 and 4 years of age. And the mentality of a 2, 3, 4-year-old is a lot different. Luke was my friend. He was my companion. He was my bud. We did things together. We played together. We ran in the fields together. I mean, of course, under my parents' supervision. And I just have such fond memories of him. And I remember when there was a day that Luke didn't come back home. because he was an outdoor dog, and he would always go out. We had 25 acres of land. He would always be out there, searching around, doing things, but he would always come back. And I remember the one day, and I was very young, so my memories aren't as clear because I was about 4 years of age, but I remember he didn't come back. And I remember the feeling, and I'm sure this will make sense to everybody when they hear me say this. I remember the feeling of everything being so quiet. Everything was so quiet. My parents were quiet. My family was quiet, because we didn't know where Luke was. And we had a feeling, or at least they had a feeling at that time, that something had happened, that it was his time. He had gotten to an age where he was a senior, and that he went away because he knew that it was his time to die.
So that journey as a very young child,
Mm-hmm.
The healing journey perhaps is what inspired you later in your adult years to look into it and do research and write about and help others to take that journey and take that journey with a different view. So you see how people are saying that the best lessons in life are learned from pain and from suffering. But I think once you go through that journey, once you have the tools to deal with the loss, you could say you are coming from a place of joy. And healing is something that nobody wants to think about.
That's
and
right.
ready to lose a pet or somebody they love dearly. But I think it's important for us to be prepared in our mind that everything that grows in nature, including ourselves, at some point is going to go.
That's right. That's right. And it's interesting that you say that. Marina, when I was, taking you back, if we were to all travel in a time machine right now to go back, and we traveled back in time to the year 1972, we'll go back to when I moved to that hobby farm and the age of 2 years old, and having animals come into my life from a really early age. Us as humans and our lifespans versus an animal and their lifespan, they're not the same. And so if we are a human and we have an animal in our lives, chances are we're also going to experience the loss of that animal or that pet. And that is what can hurt deeply. And you're right, everything has a cycle, everything has a lifespan. And one of the things that it's really important to remember is the time and what I like to call the gifts that we spend with our animals, the gifts of love, the gifts of laughter, the gifts of companionship. I remember being afraid to go to sleep at night, but when my dog was there beside me, I all of a sudden felt safe. So that to me was a gift that he gave to me, the gift of feeling safe, the gift of safety. And it's remembering and identifying, and this is what I work with people every single day, it's identifying the gifts that animals bring to us and how we can use them in every day, but also when it comes to grieving their loss, how we can use them in healing. Telling you just a little bit more of my story, everybody. When I was growing up on this hobby farm, if you were to name an animal on a farm, I most likely had it as a pet. So if you're thinking farm, you're probably thinking horses, cows, pigs, chickens, goats, ducks, rabbits, cats, dogs. I had them as a pet. Frogs. We did have snakes. They weren't my pets. I was afraid of snakes back then. But we did have so many animals. And what happened growing up from such a young age is that my parents taught us that when you give to an animal what they need, you care for them, you feed them, you provide for them, they will give back to you. And what I didn't realize growing up, but as an adult now looking back on that, I remember that these animals that I called my friends were actually my teachers. And all of the things that we did to provide for them, they gave back to us tenfold. They didn't ask for anything in return. They didn't argue with us. They didn't judge us. They accepted us for who we were. And as a small child growing up into my teenage years, going into my early adult years, these animals, they listened to me. They were my confidants. You know, I could talk with them. I could, you know, have such amazing experiences with them. And I think that's something that we need to remember when it comes to healing and when it comes to grieving their loss. They gave us many gifts. So Marina, you had mentioned about, you know, you have a dog in your life, and you know, how much you know, I don't even know your dog's name. What's your dog's name?
So when I was a little child, the name of my dog, it was a lab as well.
Yeah.
Patrocle, which was I was giving that name because that was the first story I ever read myself. So I was 4, I think. So, but then after that, after I lost Patrocle, I couldn't have another pet because I was afraid I'm going to lose them again.
Right.
So I only had more pets in my life when I had children, and actually when they lost their father, I had to think of something to help them go through that period of time. So at the time, we went to a place where you could, you know, it was a place where there were hundreds of dogs, and anyway, so they choose one, and what happened after a couple of years, the dog, we lost that dog because a car hit him, and it was fatal. And I couldn't speak for a week because back in my childhood I never dealt with the grief. So now again, I was an adult, I had children, I had so many commitments, and I could not think. I could not even cry. It was almost too much to bear. So what we've done, I mean, my children, what they did, they went and got 2 other dogs. And now we still have them. So they are Dobermans, and they weren't mine, but somehow the dog chooses you. And the younger one, which is a girl, Tara, she thinks I'm her best friend or something. I'm not quite sure, but she was so tiny when they brought her. She was smaller than a cushion, you know, one of those for kids. So I remember I was taking picture of her sitting on the cushion. So now she's a big girl, and she looks, she's very elegant, and she's very very beautiful. Everybody loves her, and I have to give her, I had to use a pink collar to show people that she's not you know, vicious or anything. She's very friendly, actually.
Right.
Very friendly. She's not only that she is, but she got something in her eyes that you could rely on her. You know, she's always there, and I can't even. I think it's priceless. It's a gift of life that I didn't even do anything about it. It was my kids. They brought her home. So I don't know. I feel so much love from her.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You know, you have a connection with them. You have a connection with nature, but with pets, it's very different because they show you how much they love you.
That's right. That's right.
And I know I wanted to ask you because you wrote couple of books, and in your latest book, From Empty to Empowered, you take the reader on a journey. And
right.
I was thinking if you if you could bring an example of what it might look like to take this journey with you in your book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the second book that I've written is titled From Empty to Empowered. A Journey to Healing from Unexpected Pet Loss. And this book can help you with the loss of your pet. I go into specifics in this book, however, with regards to a traumatic or an unexpected loss. So you had mentioned, Marina, about your dog that was that had the accident with the car and had passed away that way, and how you felt afterwards about not wanting to get another animal in your life just yet because it was too painful. And that is something that is very normal and natural, and it's something that a lot of us will do. And one thing for that, just before I get into kind of taking you on that journey with the book, is just to remind you and everybody that when an animal is in our life and then leaves our life, we do need to allow time for healing. And for some people, getting a new animal in their life sooner is something that is best for them. But for others, they need that time. And so it's just reminding yourself that when and if it's the right time to get another animal in your life, that will be the right time. And Marina, you also said that a lot of times the animal chooses us. And you know what? I wholeheartedly agree with you with that. Any animal that has come into my life and I've had a very close bond and relationship with, every single time I could swear that that animal chose me versus me choosing that animal. So you know, getting into my book and kind of taking you as a reader on the journey. What I do with all my books is I take us together on a journey, because when it comes to grieving and healing from loss, it's not fun. It's something we don't want to have to get up and greet in the morning. It's something that we just wish would go away. And it's something we need to go through. So we take a journey together. No one in healing should ever need to be alone. And that's why in my books, and in this particular book that we're talking about, From Empty to Empowered, I bring you with me on this journey so that you're not alone and that we are here healing together. You know, I've experienced so much loss in my life with pets and people, you know, up until this point, that I'm healing too. And so even though I wrote these books and even though I can support you in healing, I also want to remind you that I'm healing as well. And so when we unite together, we can heal together. And at the beginning of the book, what we'll do is we'll actually meet in our virtual book world, and we will start climbing a mountain together. Because when it comes to healing, it's like climbing a mountain. It's like trying to get to the top. And every time you look up, the peak is just so far in the distance. And the question is, how am I going to get through today? How am I going to get through this moment? So I use the climbing of the mountain as an analogy that we will do together. And as we take each step and as we continue to climb, we find that mountain peak is getting closer and closer. And as we become active in our healing, so number one, we need to learn about how we can help ourselves heal. Number two, we need to actually take active steps. Because if those steps aren't taken, nothing will happen. We will remain stagnant. So we have to take those active steps. We take them together and we reach the top. And when we come to the top, we realize that we are safe and that support is available. So that's how the beginning of the book starts out. And one of the things, that I really want to share with everybody when it comes to grieving and specific to grieving a pet is something that I like to explain as an analogy of a car accident. So, Marina, have you ever been in a car accident or know somebody who has?
Yes.
Okay, and so from that accident, perhaps there might have been some bumps or bruises, perhaps there depending on the severity of the accident, there could be some broken legs or maybe some rehabilitation that needs to be done afterwards to heal from the impact of that physical accident?
It wasn't myself, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, sometimes there's just little fender benders, which maybe you're a little, one might be a little bit sore afterwards. And others, it might be an actual, a very severe accident where there's surgery or, casts or stitches needed or things like that. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because when we think about that in our mind, as a society, If we know somebody who's been in an accident, we will say to them, oh my goodness, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you? Can I, we bring them things. We take them to their appointments. We help them. We babysit their kids, so they can heal. There's so many things that we will do. Now let's take that same scenario and let's compare it to when a pet dies, or perhaps there was a traumatic death of that pet. We as a society, for some reason, don't treat that loss the same. And the reason why I'm getting to the analogy here, the reason why I'm comparing the loss of a pet to a car accident is because what's happening from a physical injury from a car accident to what's happening inside our bodies when we are grieving, in my mind, are exactly the same. A physical car accident, you might have a broken leg, some stitches, some bruising. From the death of a pet, you have that, but you don't have a broken leg, you have a broken heart. You may not have stitches on the outside of your body, but you sure feel like there's some areas that need to be stitched up on the inside. And you may not have bruising that's showing up on the outside of your skin, but you absolutely have bruising on the inside. And we as a society, up until this point, don't seem to see it as the same. And I just want to remind everybody that's listening to this right here, right now, that if you are healing and you are grieving, to be kind and gentle to yourself and remind yourself that what you are going through is pretty heavy duty. It's the stress on your body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes we find that we are trying to get up in the morning and we're feeling like maybe we're getting sick a little more easier. Our immune system isn't as strong because of the stress. It's reminding yourself that healing from loss should absolutely be treated the same way as healing from this analogy that I'm sharing from an accident with a physical injury. There is no difference. The only difference is that everything's happening on the inside with the hurt and the pain. Does that make sense to you, Marina?
Very much so. And I know that sometimes another way of healing or dealing with the loss, which is unreplaceable, is talking about it. And I know you wrote more than one book. You wrote another book which is called I Believe in the Power of Pets. And I know you are helping people to get together and you guide them in healing each other. And it's something perhaps that we don't realize how important it is to share our memories and how important it is to share how we feel about losing somebody we care and love so much. And healing together, it's something that perhaps not many of our listeners thought about it, because you go quietly and think about the loss you had, but you don't feel like talking about. And I think that's very important to know that this is something that you are allowed, something that you can talk about, something that you could connect with your group, or you can create a group. If you are not in Canada, I'm not quite sure if your group is online or a virtual group, or it's just you meet somewhere. But I think your idea of healing together is something I never heard before. It's very, it's almost like pioneering into healing. And I wonder what is your key message for the people who are dealing with their loss and they don't know they could talk to other people who got the same experience?
Well, I invite everybody that's listening to this, or if you know somebody that could, benefit from this, I invite you all to join in the Power of Pets Global Initiative. It's called the I Believe in the Power of Pets. We have a Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/the Power of Pets, this group actually is not all based on grief and loss. It's actually based on grieving and healing but also celebrating our pets of today and yesterday. So it's a global initiative for pet lovers around the world. So yes, I am in Canada, but we have people that I'm connecting with, and we're all uniting together. If you were to picture a group of people across the world standing arm in arm in arm beside each other unconditionally, we have people from Germany and UK and Australia, South Africa, Ireland, and of course Canada, United States, Mexico. There's people from all over the world that have joined, and it's a safe space in which we honor the bond and connection with our pets. So if you're wondering kind of, here are some of the things that we do, I have posts every day that are educational, that help with grieving, that are sharing in other people's celebrations or remembrance of their pets' lives. We hold gratitude for animals and for pets, because it's pets that have brought us together, right? So if you are a pet lover, or if you are, wanting to connect because there is a pet that you wish to remember that you have loved and have lost, it is because of your pet that we have met. It's because of our pets that we can connect together. So in times of loss, we are here for each other unconditionally. And that way, everyone's welcome and no one's ever alone. So that's the I Believe in Power of Pets. That's the Power of Pets Facebook group that we have, and everybody's welcome to join us there. I think that as we kind of conclude this time together, I would love to share a story with you that talks about a horse that I had in my younger years. And then I want to offer you guys a gift from myself. And so I will let you know that as well. But essentially, I'd like to just share a story of inspiration for you. And again, this has to do with healing. When I was about 12 years old, I had a horse named Thunder. He was a beautiful kind of darker gray, yet had some silver color in him. And he had this blonde mane, and he was just a gorgeous guy. And I remember my sister had her horse too. Her horse was named Daisy May, and we would go out riding together. But I was afraid. I was very afraid of, back when I was younger, somebody once said to me, be careful, the horse could buck you off. Sometimes the horse will start, kicking its back legs up and doing a bucking motion. And I had this fear in my mind that, oh my goodness, I'm going to get bucked off. I'm going to get bucked off. And so I was afraid to ride him by myself. So I always had my sister kind of guide me or direct Thunder, or, I never was independent. My father as well. I'd be like, Dad, can you please lead Thunder so that I could ride him? And finally, at the age of 12, I realized that, I'm getting to that point in my life where I want to become independent. I want to do things on my own. Nobody should be able to have to do this for me. That kind of mentality of getting into those teenage years where I am invincible, And what happened was I decided that I was going to take Thunder out all by myself. And I was terrified because I was afraid that something was going to happen and my father or sister wouldn't be there as my safety net. But I thought, you know what? This is the day I'm going to do this. I am independent, as a 12-year-old mentality would think as. So I took Thunder in from the back paddock and I brought him into the barn and I groomed him and I got his saddle on and we were ready to go. And out we went into our back 25 acres. So if you guys were with me during this time, you would have seen this beautiful field, open field. You would have seen the sun shining, a blue sky. Everything on this day was absolutely perfect. So as I was nervous, I started riding Thunder and out we went into the backfield. We were walking, just kind of walking a little bit. And I thought, you know what? My goal was to actually gallop on him. So get him out there and actually, do a full ride, gallop, get everything, do it all on my own, all by myself. And out we went and we started walking and I was terrified, but I said, okay. And I gave him the command to start galloping. We started galloping. It was amazing. I was connecting with him. He was connecting with me. We were completely in sync with each other. The wind was blowing through my hair. I was on cloud 9. It was absolutely amazing. And in my mind, I thought, I did it. I did it. I'm doing this all by myself. Thank you, thunder. Thank you, thunder. And then something happened that would change my life forever. And what happened was the saddle slipped. And we were in a full gallop. And I flew off and hit the ground. Now, as of 12 years old, I was quite resilient. I didn't have any broken bones. It hurt quite a bit physically. But what hurt the most was that I felt like I had failed. Again, thinking of a 12-year-old and how a 12-year-old would think. My goal that day was to go out there and connect with my horse and do it all by myself and have it be perfect. And I had a huge, huge sense of failure. So I got up, and I never got mad at Thunder for what happened. What happened actually was he didn't like the saddle being tight around his girth. So what happened was when I was grooming him, he actually bloated his stomach out so that the saddle would feel tight. But then when we started going, he'd put his stomach back in, which would make the saddle looser, which wouldn't be so tight around his stomach. But because of that looseness and in the gallop, it slid and it slipped and it caused an accident. So although I was, bumped and bruised, that was fine. But the main thing was the feeling of failure. And I share this story with you all because I'd like to ask you, have you ever done something in your life that you felt that you have failed? Have you ever had a challenge come up in your life? And specific to what we're speaking about right here, right now, is the challenge of missing your pet so much and having to heal from their loss. When you think about that, and I share this story with you about falling off of Thunder and having that feeling of failure, what I'd like to share as the inspiring message today was on that day, I knew I had to bring Thunder back to the barn. I knew we had to get back from where we started out. And I knew in order to do that, I had to fix the saddle and climb back up on the horse. You know that saying in life, when something happens, well, you just need to, quote, get back up on the horse? I now realize where that quote came from. And I had to that day not only physically get back up on my horse to bring him back, but I had to physically, emotionally, mentally prepare myself to get back up on the horse and face that healing I needed to do. And so I share that with you today, and I ask you the question, when it comes to your healing, and no matter where you are, no matter what stage of healing you're in, wherever you're at right now, it's okay. And I ask you, what will you do today, even if it's one very small thing, to get back up on your horse? And I share this story today. I share it with the intention of touching hundreds, perhaps thousands of people across the world to remember that when you're healing. And on the days where maybe it's not as good of a day because things are just very, very hard. And to remind yourself to be gentle and kind to yourself and remind yourself that what you're going through is important and what you're going through needs to have the nurture and the attention that it deserves. And as we end our time together today and we kind of end out this time together, I just want to share with you that for anybody who resonates with the message that we've talked about today and everything that Marina has shared and that I have shared, I welcome you to a free copy of my book, The Power of Pets, 7 Effective Tools to Heal from Pet Loss. All you need to do is go to my website, which is www.powerofpets365.com. You'll see on the homepage there's a blue box, and you can just put your information in there, and I will immediately send you a free downloadable copy of that book to guide and to honor your healing. And Marina, I want to thank you for being a part of this today. I'd like to thank you for sharing your love for animals and the information about the animals that are in your life and that have been in your life. And I thank you for your time, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was just came to my mind while you were talking about your pet. Came to my mind a quote I read long ago, and stayed with me for years. I'm not quite sure if it's accurate, but it's something on the lines that dogs are not your entire life, your whole life, but they make your life a whole. So for our listeners who lost a pet and they're afraid of engaging with their next best friend, like I did for decades, I think just remember that before you have a pet, before you connect with a pet, regardless a horse or a dog or a cat or a turtle, you don't really feel complete. And that's my own experience. And I'm sure that reading your book is going to help me even more to go back and look into those experiences and to those feelings I was burying at the time because I didn't know how to deal with them. And I really wish I knew you before long ago, but it's never too late. So thank you so much for being so kind and doing all this work for all of us. And I just wonder if you could repeat the address where our listeners could go and connect with you and download the book again, please.
You bet. It's www.powerofpets. So Power of Pets with an S on the end, and then the numbers 365.com.
Wow. From both of us until next time, and I can't wait what you are going to bring us next time, Marybeth. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.